I trust you're doing well. I'm Ethan Tashobe. You're watching RwandaTV News live from Kigali. The President of the Republic has announced that Rwanda will host the Malaria and NTD Summit in Kigali in June on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. While addressing a virtual launch of the 2021-2030 roadmap for NTDs, the head of state, President Paul Kagame, also noted that it is possible to eliminate neglected tropical diseases within a generation. We have this report. While addressing the participants of the virtual launch of the 2021-2030 roadmap for ending neglected tropical diseases, NTDs, President Paul Kagame noted that these diseases have been neglected because they happen to be endemic to poor countries, preventing children from reaching their full potential, both cognitively and physically.
Historically, these diseases have been neglected because they happen to be endemic to poor countries. These diseases cause pain and long-term disability. They also prevent children from reaching their full potential, both cognitively and physically. So it is very important that the international community is rallying around this agenda for a decade of action to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. In Rwanda, we have integrated NTD medication into the national supply chain, down to the community level.
During this meeting, President Paul Kagame also noted that the health system that served to combat pandemics such as COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS are the same institutions that lead to the campaign against NTDs. He observed that investing in health is worth every penny. The head of state also announced that Rwanda will host the Malaria and NTD Summit in Kigali in June on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of State Government meeting.
Rwanda will host the Malaria and NTD Summit in Kigali in June on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. This gathering will be an opportunity to advance the commitments under the roadmap, and I invite you all to participate. It is possible to eliminate neglected tropical diseases within a generation. This roadmap shows us how, and now we must get to work and implement it.
The roadmap for the 2021-2030 sets global targets and milestones to prevent, control, eliminate or eradicate 20 diseases and disease groups. It also sets cross-cutting targets aligned with the World Health Organization's 13th General Program of Work and the SDGs, with strategies of achieving targets during the next decade. In other news, President Paul Kagame believes that African countries should continue to support the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in order to better fulfill its mission of accelerating development on the continent. President Kagame made the remarks on this Thursday during the NEPAD's 20th symposium.
In May 2001, the African Union was founded to replace the Organization of African Unity. A few months later, in July 2001, the African Union Development Agency, named the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD, was created, meaning it is now 20 years since. President Paul Kagame, who also chairs NEPAD Heads of State and Government Orientation Committee, says that based on the responsibilities given to him, which include eradicating poverty and integrating Africa into the global economy with a focus on good governance, NEPAD has never strayed from that in the last 2 decades.
We pay tribute today to the distinguished leaders who spearheaded the establishment of NEPAD from Algeria, Egypt, Nigeria, Senegal, and South Africa. Many other leaders rallied to the NEPAD cause in the following years. NEPAD has remained true to its vision. NEPAD's values are part and parcel of the reform spirit we have seen in the African Union over the past several years, with good results. It is therefore no accident that NEPAD officially became the African Union Development Agency in 2018. NEPAD's track record makes it the ideal institution to help lead implementation of Agenda 2063 on behalf of the African Union.
South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is currently chairing the African Union, also emphasized NEPAD's role in Africa's development through agriculture, tourism, technology, energy, and infrastructure, as well as international cooperation.
NEPAD has engaged various institutions that operate at a global level. For instance, the G20, the G8, the OECD, FOCAC, TICAD, and the UN system on a new development cooperation and aid architecture for our continent. Throughout these engagements, NEPAD has been steadfast on the principle of an Africa-led and an Africa-owned development agenda.
The African Development Bank is one of NEPAD's partners, and the president of the bank, Akwinumi Adesina, says cooperation will continue through various projects.
The African Development Bank is proud to have been a lead financier and implementation partner of NEPAD over the years. The bank is currently preparing a new financing of $9 million for PIDA capacity building phase 2 to support a comprehensive resource mobilization strategy for outer NEPAD, which is scheduled for our board approval in early 2021. The bank has been financing the NEPAD infrastructure project preparation facility, which we all call NEPAD IPPF, which we created as a special fund within the bank. I'm delighted to inform you the bank's NEPAD IPPF has helped to galvanize and to catalyze regional infrastructure investments worth $24 billion.
The NEPAD 20th Symposium held this Thursday focused on the achievements of the past 20 years after its establishment and the challenges it faces that hinder them from achieving the goals. President Paul Kagame called on member states to continue to make their contributions to help the agency fulfill its responsibilities.
I call on member states to continue supporting the multiple partnerships that AUDA NEPAD has developed. AUDA NEPAD's agreement with the new CFTA Secretariat is of particular importance. Honoring our statutory commitments as member states is not only our duty, it is good value for money. Doing so also facilitates resource mobilization more broadly.
Other participants of the symposium included Algerian Prime Minister Abdelaziz Gerard, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Reporting for RTV News, Gloria Mutesi.
Thank you, Gloria, for that report. Now, a study by Transparency International Rwanda indicates that corruption has been rampant, especially among institutions that have remained operational during the COVID-19 lockdown. Those include security patrol organs and the private sector offering essential services. We have more. From the very first time when Rwanda registered the first case of COVID-19 pandemic, there have been strategies to prevent the further spread of the virus. Some of these guidelines including closing some certain business activities with lockdown applied when and where necessary. However, in compliance with these regulations, the public criticizes some institutions which are corrupt and could have led to the spread of the virus. When you go out to find food for the kids, the moment you get on the street and meet local security patrols, they tell you to go back home. You tell them you are going to fend for your family. You keep pleading to them and they ask you for a bribe of 1,000. They will let you walk away after that. If a local leader has no integrity, he will cover up for a bar operator and let them open even if they are not allowed to operate. In so doing, the leader ignores the plug, disregards his responsibilities, and betrays the Rwandan people, betraying those who trust him. It is just a matter of continuing to educate the people to understand that such corrupt practices can affect people. The Rwanda Bribery Index, published by the Transparency International Rwanda, has revealed a number of institutions that are leading in corruption in the country. Corruption is rampant. It has hit high point during this period when the country is battling COVID-19. However, in some institutions, it has declined. Corruption has increased in sectors that have remained operational during lockdown, especially those that provide essential services. These include traffic police, local administrative authorities in construction sector, the private sector, the investigation bureau and the prosecution. We have guidelines in place to help us contain the virus, but some people bribe authorities to ensure that they remain operating, even when they are not supposed to operate. All this has made corruption seem to be on the rise. Ingabire Imakire also believes that gaps leading to corruption have been identified and there is already a political will which can be productive going forward. What we hope and believe will help is that we have provided information to some of the leaders in those sectors that they do not have, which will enable them to monitor the performance of those agencies and the services they are providing, because there is political will. The Ombudsman, as one of the leading anti-corruption agencies, says the study sends an important message for what remains to be done to make Rwanda corruption-free. After this study, it is clear that there is still a lot to be done to eradicate corruption. It requires that we also educate the public. After this study, there will be another meeting, which the Ombudsman office will be involved, and the agencies that have been exposed will be corrected. As per the Corruption Perception Index 2020, released today by Transparency International, Rwanda's score has increased from 53% to 54% in 2020. Rwanda is now 49th on the global rank from 51st in 2019 and retained the 4th position among the least corrupt countries in the sub-Saharan Africa. The Rwanda Bribery Index 2020, also released today, reveals that 19% of Rwandans directly or indirectly demand or offered bribe in an interaction with an institution over the last 12 months. 52.8% of Rwandans consider the level of corruption to be low, while 20.5% perceive that corruption is high. The Rwanda Bribery Index also shows that in the service sector, soliciting a bribe for those seeking a construction permit comes at the top, scoring 61% in 2020 as compared to 33.8% in 2019. In traffic police, soliciting for a bribe was at 12% in 2020, up from 9.07% in 2019. Now, in other news, the National Agricultural Export Development Board, NAEB, reports that in the second quarter of the 2020-21, the export of agricultural products decreased by 5.5% compared to the same period in 2019-2020. Innocent Mugabo has this report.
According to the institution, in the second quarter of 2020-2021, that is to say October, November and December 2020, agricultural exports accounted for more than 113,964,823 US, while in the previous year, such a period had grossed more than 120,618,766 US. The production of cash crops, which include coffee, tea and pyrethrum, fell by 1.2% from 47,329,744 US in the fiscal year 2019-2020 to 46,762,263 US, while domestic crop production has increased by 8.30% from 73,289,022 US in the second quarter of 2019-2020 to 67,202,560 US in the current year 2020-2021. Naib points out that the main reason for the decline was the COVID-19 pandemic, which has led many countries to shut down various activities in order to reduce the spread of the virus, hence also hindering the imports. Only a few of the crops went up, as did the pyrethrum crop that rose by 26.9%, flowers by 39.5%, and fruits by 3.75%. Naib points out that pyrethrum has found a new market in South Korea, while measures to increase fruit and flower production are aimed at increasing the size of its exports, and there are new markets, and demand for it is on the rise.